Senator Moreno, will the reader please read the tribute to Senator Brittany Pettersen?
The Senate of the Colorado Legislature, convened in the second regular session of the 73rd General Assembly, hereby extends our sincerest congratulations, commendation, and thanks to Brittany Pettersen, Senate District 22. Senator Pettersen was elected to serve in the 69th, 70th, 71st, 72nd, and 73rd General Assemblies, where she represented her fellow citizens with dedication and honor. During her tenure with the Senate, she served with distinction as the chair of the Finance Committee, the vice chair of both the Transportation and Energy and the Health and Human Services Committees. Senator Pettersen was the chair of the Opioid and Other Substance Use Disorders Study Committee and served on School and Youth Crisis Committee, the Early School Readiness Committee, the School Safety and Youth Crisis Committee, the Statewide Health Insurance Exchange Oversight Committee. She also chaired the Behavioral Health Transformational Task Force. The citizens of Colorado and the members of the Senate express gratitude for Senator Pettersen's exemplary service to our great state and wish her well in her future endeavors. Given this 11th day of May 2022, State Capitol, Denver, Colorado, Steve Fenberg, President of the Senate.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam President, and colleagues. It's an honor to recognize Senator Pettersen and all her service to the state of Colorado. Senator Pettersen and I came in as freshmen together, and she has been a close friend ever since. I have loved getting to know Brittany because, frankly, she's just an incredible person. To hear about her life experiences, what she's gone through, and how she has turned that into serving other people is really just remarkable. Senator Pettersen often tells me I remind her of her brother because, as she would say, I have a beautiful heart. Well, Senator Pettersen, it takes one to know one, because you have one of the most beautiful hearts that I've ever seen. Thank you for being such a friend. Thank you for everything you've done for the people of Colorado. You have truly saved lives in our state, and we are so grateful to you and everything you've done for all of us. Thank you.
Senator Danielson.
Don't need to be recognized, I guess. I just wanted to be brief and say a few words about Senator Pettersen. I did know her before she got elected and before I got elected, but she's always been a savvy strategist and a hardworking campaigner. She is a dedicated fighter, a great organizer, a fun friend, and then when I actually got to know her, I learned a lot more. The majority leader mentioned a number of the policies that she's passed. She's a fierce fighter for a lot of really important issues that impact families and women, equality, healthcare, etc. I think you all know what she's done. You've been serving with her, and perhaps maybe don't always agree on the policy, but you know where her heart's coming from. We usually agree on policy, pretty much all the time. But I will also just say that I've been really, really grateful to serve with her in the House and the Senate. She's, you know, just such a dependable, high-quality public servant at its heart, and through her service, always a keen strategist and a really dedicated hard worker to make sure that she gets done what she needs to get done the way it needs to get done. And it's not for selfish reasons or self-promotion. It's always because of the values that she believes in and the goals that she needs to achieve for the people that she cares about. That's a really admirable thing. You know, I'm really going to miss you. I'm really going to miss you. The Senate is a better place for you here, and in a personal level, it's nice to have such a good friend in here, and always good for a laugh to lighten things up, because we have some really heavy days, some serious subject matter. Sometimes you need a good friend to just chat with and calm things down, or maybe fire people up. I will never forget, though, during the pandemic when we were in lockdown, I had one of my birthdays, and I'm not a big birthday person. Also, the more you have, kind of the less you are a big birthday person, right? I mean, But she does appreciate birthdays, if you know that about her. And she, during the pandemic, somehow managed to find a bouquet of flowers and a beautiful birthday cake and brought it by the house. And it was so kind in a time when we weren't really visiting with one another and we weren't seeing each other. And it really meant something to me, even though I didn't think I cared about the day. It turns out I did, but it was only because she made it special, and she does that kind of thing all the time. She's a really, really good friend. So, Brittany, I know that we're going to miss you here. I would love to spend a few more years with you on policy, because the state of Colorado definitely is a much better place for you, having served when your time here. But I am also very, very excited for your next steps, and that you are going to fight hard when you get to DC for the same values and the same kind of work that you've done here. So we will really miss you, but I am excited for the reason that you're leaving us. And I'm not going to say any more because I know a lot of other people would like to say more. So thank you for your time. Thank you, Brittany.
Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm gonna cry. Brittany's my best friend. We have matching Taylor Swift cardigans. We like to wear. And anytime I'm having a bad day, she's my ride or die and the person I call, whether it's personal or policy or political. I didn't know I was gonna cry. I'd be happy to celebrate you. I don't know how I'm gonna come to this building without you. We met in 2008 and we were having coffee, and I got assigned to her to be her mentor. And in her phone it still says Faith Mentor, but really she's my mentor too. And so I showed up to this coffee, and there was this phenomenal person sitting in front of me, and she was a little shy, a little apprehensive, and I finally got her to tell me her story. And it was really courageous to tell me her story about how she grew up, and about her mom and her brothers, and about how she had to become an adult at a really young age, and about what she faced at school, and about everything she went through. And she said, so I don't think running for office is for me because of my background of being low income and living in poverty and having a mom with addiction, and all of that's going to come out. And I looked at her and said, you're the strongest person I've ever met in my life, and that's exactly why you should do this. Because if we don't have more people like you setting these policies, then we're doing a disservice to the state, and you should run for office. And it took a while to get her to tell her story, and her story became powerful, and her vulnerability became strength. And right now there's someone in an ER that's having an overdose that's going to get the help because of Brittany. There's a child in a school right now facing crisis who's meeting with a school counselor because of Brittany. There are people that have beds to sleep in tonight as they're overcoming addiction because of Brittany. And they're never going to know Brittany's name. They're never going to know that they got the services they needed because this really strong woman named Brittany Pettersen showed up every single day and fought for every single dollar to make sure they had the services they need. When she came into this building and was told no, she worked harder. When she showed up to a campaign and had mailers comparing her to Britney Spears and saying she was a criminal, when she's been underestimated and called a Barbie, when she's been told that the only reason she's here is because her incredible husband, I love Ian, but to think that she isn't here for her own accomplishments is a disservice. Underestimate Brittany at your own expense, right? Because I have never met someone that will work harder and never give up than Brittany. And it's not that it's just work ethic. Yes, she has work ethic and she has tenacity, but as the majority leader said, her heart is so big and her heart won't let her give up. Her heart will keep her going at her own expense. I've seen her without sleep, without food. She gets hangry. I try to give her food. It's great. I eat the carbs. She eats the protein. But she will never give up. And so there are people across the state right now that are experiencing services that weren't here 8 years ago. There's people with counselors and beds and medicine and not overdosing because of her hard work. Our state is clearly better because of what Brittany has done. And I know our country will be better for what she will do. And I love you.
Senator Fields?
Thank you, Madam President. You know, it's hard to say goodbye, but I feel like I'm not going to be saying goodbye because it's like I'm going to say, see you later. Because when I think about you, there's a couple of words that come to mind right away, and that's impact. You have impacted state policy on so many different levels. It's hard for me to put it all down in writing, your impact in the House and in the Senate. You should take away from your experiences here under this Golden Dome your impact. And I'm quite sure you know what that is, because there's a whole list of public policy positions that are now in law because of your impact. And Senator, your impact is not just based on carrying a departmental bill. Your bills are bold, they're visionary, and people may not get it right away, but then you find a lot of allies and support to rally around all the bills. I recall the bill that we passed last session on diapers. Big deal, big deal. I think about the impact that you've made in education, not just in the House, but in the Senate. Big deal. So when I think about, is our state in a better place because of Senator Pettersen, I would say yes, it is. The reason it's better is because your concentration and your focus has never been about you. It's been about the policy. It's been about investing in Colorado families through the work that you do. It's about the investment that this state should make as it relates to behavioral health. Before you came onto the scene, we probably came in a little sooner or later, but you didn't hear much talk about behavioral health. It was almost like a taboo type subject because people did not know how to legislate it, what kinds of services that were needed for the people who were dealing with their own well-being or their struggles with addiction or substance abuse. But you, and I would suggest you take inventory of all your work, and you should stand on your work, because when I look at you, I can tell you a couple things. First of all, motherhood looks good on you. And so does your next place in Congress. You are prepared to take your place back in Washington, D.C. because of the experience and the wealth of legislation that you have passed in the state of Colorado. So I honor you. I honor you in reference to how you have connected with community and the state and the nation. And it's not a small thing. So I'm just here to say, keep propelling, keep moving forward, and I wish you all the best, and I will be continually watching you as you soar.
Senator Lundin.
Thank you, Madam President. Hey, cuz. So, a little bit of an inside story there. Years and years and years ago, it's probably 5 or 6 generations back, the bloodline that flows in me is actually Pettersen, P-E-D-D-E-R-S-E-N. And a great-great-great-great-grandfather was a stepson and took the name Lundin. And so I stand before you, a Lundin, even though I'm a Pettersen. And so we've always joked that we may have, in fact, some sort of bloodline that is connected, even though you're a P-E-T-T and I'm a P-E-D-D. You know, they changed those around at Ellis Island and all that had happened. So maybe we are, in fact, related. I would hope so. In many ways, I would. I have enjoyed interacting with you ever since I first met you, and I met you first at a Rose Foundation dinner back when I was on the State Board of Education. The Rose Community Foundation hosted a dinner every year. The state board theoretically hosted it. Rose is the group that put it on. And they brought members of the Senate and House Education Committees together with the State Board of Education to talk and interact and do that which we should do a whole lot more of. I was speaking earlier about the challenges and difficulties of Amendment 41, but breaking bread with those with whom you will build policy is, I think, a good thing, and that's part of what this was about. You were brand new, just been elected to the House and serving on the House Education Committee. And I got to meet you and know you, and then I've worked with you on House Education and through the years now inside this building as an education policy advocate. And that's how I know you and understand your serious, meaningful policy chops. First, I saw them as you developed them around education policy, and I appreciate so much the things we've done. Quite frankly, we've disagreed at times, but I think we've agreed more often than not in terms of how we can move forward, acknowledging and making education about students as opposed to about systems and institutions, and I'm grateful for every breath you've taken and every bill you've run that moves us in that direction. Senator Pettersen, I know you as a kind human, incredibly kind. I don't think we've ever had a crossword, and when you've been frustrated, there is frustration visible at times in all of our actions, but you never seemed to be unkind, even in the most frustrating moments, and this building can be frustrating. I know you as a kind human, a strategic politician. I think you have a clear primary for a congressional race at this point, if I'm not mistaken. This does not happen frequently, people that don't watch politics closely. And I know you as a tireless policymaker. You have leveraged every skill you have, every capacity you have, every experience you've had, and even the experiences of your family to make you a stronger and better and more meaningful policymaker. And you are tireless in applying that. And beyond all of that, you may have, other than my grandkids and my children when they were very young, the cutest child I've ever seen. And we know that doesn't come from Ian. Representative, Senator, potentially Congressman, Congresswoman Pettersen, it's an honor to know you and count you as a friend.
Senator Buckner.
Thank you, Madam President. Brittany Pettersen. I met Brittany when she was when she worked with my husband in the state house. He was chair of education, and she was vice chair of education. And he came home every time they had a meeting talking about this young lady, Brittany Pettersen. She has so much potential. She is so smart. He just adored her and just saw her potential. And he said she was a bright, shining star and very capable with unlimited potential. That's what John Buckner said about you. He even, we had Derby Day over in the house, and he said, Janet, Brittany doesn't have a church hat to wear. So I loaned her one of my big church hats, and she looked absolutely beautiful in it. I love her husband, Ian. I just love her husband, Ian, and I love her son, Davis. And I can't believe what an amazing trio they make. She is this amazing mother, amazing wife, and one of the highlights of my relationship with Brittany was when I participated in her wedding. That was one of the highlights of my life. Her tenacity is admired. I have never seen her lose her temper. And I've tried her temper before, and I've never seen her lose her temper. I believe that hope and possibilities are her middle name. I lovingly call her my other daughter. She's not afraid to tackle tough issues, education, public health, behavioral health, and her policy acumen is outstanding. I consider her a true friend. I served with her in the House. Here I am serving with her in the Senate, but I will not be coming to Congress with you. I will just come as a friend and an observer, but I will not be serving with you in Congress. You made me reach farther than I thought I ever could, Brittany Pettersen. So I'm so proud of you, and I know we're going to hear more about you.
Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. We all have stories for the members we served with over the years. I start with memories of a conversation that Senator Pettersen, then Representative Pettersen, and I had in a hallway on this floor. We were members of House Education, and I went to her in confidence and shared that I was looking for ways to increase parental choice in education. I wasn't here to represent one versus another vehicle for education, but I really wanted to make an impact because, as you know, as you listened to me last night, I've struggled with a learning disability my whole life, and I found unique ways to learn, thanks to my mom and others. And I saw potential with then Representative Pettersen that she was willing to think outside the box and take on big challenges. And just, I don't know what it might be, but if there's ever that opportunity, I hope you'll come grab me and let's talk about it. I remember when she ran for the Senate, there were some who didn't appreciate a bill that she co-sponsored with Senator Hill for charter funding equity. Thank you. There have been many policy discussions, and we've been on one side or the other, or, we've been together, we've been on opposite sides. We traveled to Israel. We've heard stories about members who've taken that amazing trip together. It was unique to be in a hotel in Jerusalem with Brittany on our tour and Ian there. I think you went to see some things before the trip started. But where I really want to focus, probably can't hold it together here, is that my friend and colleague, Senator Pettersen, has overcome something that I have. The shame, the pain, the embarrassment of a family member who suffers addiction. There's a lot of demons there who will whisper in your ear. Somehow it's your fault. Could have done something better. Don't want everyone to know. Everyone knows. But Brittany has stood here courageously in this well and across the way and talked openly about her struggles, her mother's struggles, and how they work together to overcome that. I hope that there are people watching or listening who will use her, maybe me, as an example. The struggles of your family members, of your loved ones, do not define you. There might be a time when you're alone and contemplating terrible things. There might be times when you are alone weeping because it seems as though everything is going wrong. Don't listen. Don't listen. Don't listen to those dark voices. Don't listen to those lies. The struggles of other people do not define you. Self-doubt does not define you. You can overcome with faith, with friends, with a spouse who encourages you. We both know that. But if you need a bright, shining example of excellence, of great things that you can accomplish out there if addiction is challenging you or loved ones in your family, look no further than Brittany Pettersen. I won't try to use myself as that example. The daughter of an addict, state representative, state senator, and, depending on the will of the voters of CD7, congresswoman. Brittany, I just want to say thank you for all of the kids, all of the adults who were kids, who have struggled through those nightmares. I don't know if there's anyone else here who shares that in their life as you and I do. But I do want to say thank you for being an inspiration to me. I talked about the story of Ronald Reagan pulling his dad out of a dirt front yard as his neighbors watched. Well, I didn't have to do that. I don't know if you had to do that. But we have those kinds of stories. And having the courage to not be silent, having the courage to fight for what you believe to be right, having the courage to come here in this well and the one across the way in front of these cameras and speak truth, not necessarily to power. Hi. See, he can't stay away from Mom either. But to speak truth into the misery, the pain, the sin of addiction. And to give hope. To give hope to all. There have been policies that Senator Pettersen has supported that I have adamantly opposed. There are policies that Senator Pettersen has supported, one yet to be decided here today, that will affect our state. Thank you, Brittany. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you despite our differences in policy. I am enormously proud of your work and humbled to have been your colleague during this time. I'm not a voter in CD7, but I kind of think what they're going to do, I think I know. We'll see. And as I've said privately, don't forget where you came from. I don't think you will. And do the people of CD7 proud if that's God's will for you and for them. God bless you.
Senator Bridges.
Yes. a grab bag, buddy. There is no one in this entire building that is more underestimated than Brittany Pettersen, and that is not because people don't think highly of you. That is because for all of you out there, no matter how highly you might think of Brittany, you are wrong. She is far more talented than even the people who think the most of her give her credit for. There is no one who is more strategic and craftier than Brittany Pettersen. And if you don't believe it, just look at all of the money we've spent since she came here on behavioral health. And I'm not saying look at the budget amendments that have her name on them. I'm saying add up the total, because if you think that any of those amendments came from someone else's ideas, well, Brittany probably gave them those ideas, and there's a fair chance that she gave them the budget amendment too. No one is a tougher campaigner than Brittany Pettersen. And as was mentioned before, she is the only person running in a Democratic primary for a seat that people have known and been plotting for, have known was going to come open here for a decade. Can you imagine the bloodbath we are going to see when Diana DeGette decides that she's done in about 25, 30 years? There is only one Democrat running for the 7th Congressional District. That is not an accident, folks. And there is no one better at looking past the surface to see who people really are. And she married Ian. There is no one tougher, no one smarter, no one more successful in this building than Brittany Pettersen. And that is because she has been forged in flames. No matter how good you all think you might be at something, almost certainly Brittany is better at it than you are. Colorado is a better place for your service here. Washington will be, and the bar's pretty low, but Washington will be a far better place because you are there. And Godspeed on the journey.
Senator Priola.
Thank you, Madam President. Not being able to serve with Senator Pettersen is going to be very tough the next few years. I've really enjoyed all the time we've had together in the House and here in the Senate. Started back on the Education Committee where she was chair in the House. And we had some good times, did some reform stuff. And if I remember, there was a certain article that ended up on a campaign mailer, but it worked out. The thing I love about her is she knows how to spread the credit. She's very strategic that way, and she does what true leaders do, is they don't take all the credit. They make sure other people come along and get credit for whatever issue is super important to her. And she's done that with the addiction issues, and all the money that we've spent has been talked about on recovery the past few years. And you'll see the bills coming through. Each one of us has probably had a finger in any one of those. And that's to her credit. That is a true sign of leadership, getting things moving in the right direction without necessarily being the person that has to take all the credit and have their name on all the bills. She lives her life in a manner such that there's a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And I think you can kind of understand the philosophy, but whatever challenges you have in life, as she's had in her family, she has turned it around to make it be something she's been passionate about and helped other people in their lives. And the state of Colorado and maybe the nation will benefit from that. I know she will do much bigger things in the future. I just hope that we're always friends, and I also hope that someday when you're on Meet the Press, you say a shout out to your friend in Colorado.
To Kev. Senator Cook.
Thank you, Madam President. Davis, you need some chocolate. Yeah. You need chocolate, dude. And when we're done here, you need to tell your mom to take you out for ice cream.
Will we ever be done here?
There you go. Oh! All right, dude, there you go.
He's resilient like his mom.
Yeah. And you deserve ice cream, buddy. But that's all. That's my intent. Yep. You want a donut? So, you know, I've said a couple of times today that this chamber is very eclectic. It's a very eclectic group. We all have various backgrounds and experiences, and those backgrounds and experiences really make this chamber a better place. And you shared your background the other day, and it was really touching. I mean, it really was touching, and about your mom and the difficulties you went through. And that's not easy. That's not very easy to do. A lot of times people want to hide, what's going on in their family, and not mention it in public. But you're very brave about that, and it was really heartwarming at the end, about how your mom is sober and clean and now is a great mom, and that now is evident with you and Davis. That's really awesome. It's great to see. What we care about down here, a lot of times, most people care about their legacy. It's like, what am I going to leave? What are people going to remember? They might not remember us pretty much, but they can remember our legacy. And you are building or have built a great legacy for legislators in the future. Senator Bridges said about behavioral health. It's pretty true. And that will be your legacy here. Like I said, maybe 5-10 years from now, they'll say, who was this Brittany gal? But they will know about the bills you passed. They will know that Colorado's a better place because you took it head on, the behavioral health issue. And that is, I think, one of the most important things that we can do here is leave our legacy and make Colorado a better place, which I really think you have. And plus we're judged, I think, on our accomplishments. And there's some legislators that come down here, don't accomplish anything. And they might pass one bill a year if they're lucky on that. But you have made such an accomplishment to the state of Colorado, and you're going to be remembered for that. And I know I'm going to remember you for all that you've done here. Again, just like the leader, we haven't agreed on everything, but I'm very proud of you and your fight and your determination regarding the behavioral health issue and problems here in the state of Colorado, because I've seen it firsthand. And so I know how important it is to you, and I really appreciate that. I've enjoyed working with you. You're, like I said, very dedicated, and we do have another bill sometime today, and and it's been really a pleasure working with you on that, no matter whatever the outcome is on that. And I really enjoy working with you on that bill. And I think we've worked on a couple of other ones, and it's always been a pleasure working with you on that. So I wish you luck in the upcoming election and your next saga here. And no matter what you do, I know you'll be great at it. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Senator Hawkes Lewis.
Thank you, Madam President. I didn't want to take up too much time because I don't come to the well all that often, but I had to for Brittany. when I first decided to run for Senate, I didn't really know for sure what the big difference would be about being a senator versus a House rep, and I knew that Brittany knew that. So I tried to call up all my Democratic senator future colleagues to ask them advice. Brittany was one of the few people that told me absolutely the truth on everything. She told me she told it like it is. She gave me the best advice about really getting to know everyone and getting to know everyone's interest and let them know who I was. And you're so approachable, Senator Pettersen. You give time to everyone that asks. And I just want to take a second and share something that I think is truly amazing about you, is your breadth of bills that you have done since 2016. It's unbelievable, the diversity of your legislation: schools, K-12, higher ed, tuition assistance, campaign reform, tax reform, employment practices, law reform, child care, vehicles, scooters. And scooters, I love that bill. We called Rep. Valdez Scoot for a long time, and scooter. The thing that you've also impressed me is, if I had to give an honorary pharmacist award to anyone in the chamber besides Senator Winter, I would give it to you, Senator Pettersen, because you are one of the few people in this chamber, if I say the word tramadol or Nucenta or PDMP or any of those things, you know exactly what they are. You've worked on it, and you've worked to make sure that we're able to have access to prescription drugs at a lower cost, and to be safe about prescription drugs. And I really respect that, because it's a hard field to understand. And then since we're on recess, I love being able to say people's names. Senator Fields is exactly right. You'll be remembered for everything you did with behavioral health, and you've inspired me on that. And we will try to keep up our work in your honor on that. And last but not least, I know this chamber doesn't want to relive this moment, but it has inspired me for what you've done for saving lives in our community. I will never forget, and I will always honor you for the work that you did with ERPO and Red Flag. So thank you for that very much. It means a lot to me, my community, and to so many Coloradans. So thank you, Senator Pettersen, and onward with Davis and Ian to bigger and better things, hopefully in DC.
Senator Rankin.
Thank you, Madam President. So, Brittany, I'm not going to try to rehash your virtues, which are many, your accomplishments, which are extremely impressive, and your future, which is unlimited. But what I think about in these kind of things, and we'll miss you when people go away, is what will I remember? And we all usually have a story, and I have my Brittany story. So we started together. 13 was our first year. And it seems like yesterday, it really does. And I remember, I didn't know you very well, but you came up to me with that big smile and you said, "Bob, Representative Rankin, will you run a bill with me?" And I said, "Sure I will. What is it?" Almost whatever. So Brittany had an idea to make the dogs and cats, you may remember this, those of you who are here, the dogs and cats in our shelters, the state pet. So we ran the bill, and I think most of you who were here probably voted against it, but we got it passed. So then, what ensued influenced my career, my campaigns. Because Jim Calloway, who was once the treasurer of the National Democrat Party, was the biggest philanthropist in my valley. And Jim, who became a great friend of mine for years until his death last year, said I was the only Republican he ever voted for. So Jim ran the local shelter. That was his philanthropy. I mean, he had done this for years. Wonderful place, and he put a lot of money into it. So he said, you got to come to our big celebration. I didn't know anything about it. Turns out about 300-400 people gather in what's my church. It's also a big gathering, called the Gathering Place. And it's the only place in town, Carbondale, you can get that many people. So Jim said, you've got to come to our event. So I called up Brittany. I said, come out. So we had it all scheduled, and that was the weekend of the flood. So we had a phone conversation. Brittany said, I better not come out. Too much going on in Denver. So I went to this event, and they had it set up with a big, like a runway for models. I think I've told you about this. And they had some sort of a fashion show. Women would wear the latest fashion and carrying animals. Really cute. You know, fundraiser, big fundraiser. So I had this, so I go to this event, and I had a framed copy of the front page of the bill in one hand and a state flag to fly. We didn't have a flagpole. I had to buy a flagpole to put in front of the shelter. So I had those two things, and I walked down the runway. 300 of the, you know, the big Democrats in Carbondale. Carbondale's about 80% Democrat, by the way. I struggled to get 20% of the vote there, or I did until this event. So I walked down the aisle, thank Brittany, give this stuff out, get a huge hand. Every year since then, I've been invited back until last year. Jim passed away, unfortunately. And they let me lead the pledge and, you know, give them some money. I get that, you know, great benefit every year. So that has, you know, that event changed my image in my hometown. And I'll always remember you for coming up to me and saying, will you run a bill with me? So thank you, Brittany. We're going to miss you.
Majority Leader Moreno.
Thank you, Madam President. Before we lose her to flying halfway across the country in her next endeavor, one last time at the mic for Senator Brittany Pettersen.
That was way better than I expected. Thank you all for your kind words. I feel overwhelmed and with love and appreciation, and I really thank you. These jobs can feel thankless a lot of times. Thank you for the recognition and for your kind words. I want to thank my husband. I think that he has to go soon. No, he doesn't. But this is truly a family affair. This is, you know, when I was debating whether or not I was going to run for office, it's a very unlikely path for me. And a seat opened up 10 years ago, redistricting. And here we are again, 10 years later. And Andy Kerr was running for the Senate. And at that point, I had been working for candidates. I had working on issues, never planned on running for office. And as Senator Winter alluded to, I felt like people like me don't run for office. And the seat opened up, and I got a call from Andy Kabza, Jesse's now husband. I don't think they knew each other then, to ask me to run for office. And I was absolutely terrified. If I look back at 2012 and the feeling that I had of just why were people asking me to run for office, just how scary it was to think of stepping in that role. And now I just, jumped into a congressional race immediately, not even close to as scary. So I've grown a lot. But I remember going through that time in 2012 with Ian, going back and forth on whether or not I should run for office. Well, He didn't tell me that he didn't want me to run, so when we were away for my 30th birthday and my purse was stolen in Barcelona, he said, well, if it comes back, you were meant to run. If it doesn't, then you weren't. He's like, I got this one in the bag. So it was over the holidays. Everything was closed. So my purse was stolen. My passport's gone. Don't know how I'm getting back to the U.S. We show up the day that the embassy opens, and the woman comes to goes back and forth asking me my name, where we lost it, what it had in it. Turns out, in the middle of nowhere in this town outside of Barcelona was my bag at this police station. So we went there, picked it up, went to the airport, was so excited to go home. We were having lunch and then realized the bag is gone again. So we were trying to file a police report. We couldn't even file the police report because it was the same thing within such a short period of time. And right before we were about to make our plane, they found it again. It came back, everything in it. And he said, well, I guess you're running for office. Obviously, this is not why I decided to run for office, but it's a good story. But Ian has gone through all of this with me. It is not easy for anyone. Anytime we're in a tough race, wondering if I'm going to make it, he says, Brittany, worst case scenario, you lose and our lives get a lot better. But no matter how inconvenient my choices are, he always supports me. So thank you, Ian, for always being there. And to this little guy, Davis, I want to get you on camera just so I can show you at your bar mitzvah later. Oh, bar mitzvah, there you go. I'm still learning. I'm glad that some don't hold my ignorance against him. So it has been a journey. I decided to ultimately to step up. Hi, buddy. Want to come say hi? You want to say hi?
Hi,
All right. Thank you, buddy. And this little guy is the greatest gift that's ever happened to us. All right, say bye-bye. All right, I'll get back on track. So I decided to run. Go to Dada. Go to Dada. So people have already talked about this, about being underestimated, but in 2012, I was pitched as a guaranteed loss. Everybody bet against me, and I ran the campaign that I needed to, and I told my story, and on a race that I was supposed to be a guaranteed loss, on election night, we won by 10 points, almost 10 points. And it was really my willingness to share my story. I didn't talk about exactly what it meant to be a high-risk youth, but I talked about the role that the role that public education played for me in giving me a chance.
I did.
All right, Davis, maybe I need to cut this short. Here, go say hi to Dada. But I was put on, when I look back at my time here, everything that I learned, I was on judiciary, like I said, with Pete Lee, Daniel Kagan, with John Buckner, with Mike McLaughlin, just some of we were able to pass civil unions and just so many things that we were able to do together. Being on the House Education Committee and ultimately being chair and getting to work with so many of you on those issues was an honor. When I came over to the Senate, in the House, I took on everything. I was in every single difficult fight. And in the Senate, I tried to remember that I don't want to be 80 and only have work to look back on in my life. We ultimately started a family, and I want to thank everybody for your support in that time, as well as this year as I step up in a different way, as I was not able to be as involved in everything that I usually am. But it has been quite the journey, a very unlikely journey. I have to mention my teacher, Miss Jurgemeyer, who changed my life when I was younger, who believed in me. I still cry about her. I feel like it'll always be that way. All the strong women who were there to be that role for me when I didn't have my mom, and the teachers that invested in me. And it was truly because of them that I went such a different path than I was likely to go. And that's why I believe so strongly in our democratic values, in those investments, in those public leveling the playing field, in those opportunities for regular people. I've learned a lot along the way. I want to thank you all for teaching me with, every single person that was talked about earlier from multiple people, just how much you learn from each individual, the different places that they come from in the state, their life experiences, their professional experiences and perspectives. This place is one of these unique opportunities where I wouldn't normally have the opportunity to talk to Cleve Simpson, to hear about the issues that are happening in his community and understand where he's coming from. And, we usually hang out with people who believe the same things that we do. And in this place, we're challenged, and that is a good thing. Davis has taken over. I have some, if I were to give new legislators, some advice coming in, would be to listen. You don't know everything. So many of the issues that we work on are not black and white, and it truly is the gray area, and being willing to understand, roll up your sleeves, and do the work. I like what Leroy Garcia used to say, be a workhorse, not a show horse. I've seen a lot of people over the years focus, to me, on the wrong things, and most people who are really focused on doing that good work for the people in their districts. I would also say that you have so much more power in this role than you know, and that lobbyists want you to know. And I feel like you get that as you're getting closer to being termed out. But it is an incredibly powerful position to be elected if you utilize it to the best of your ability. Hi, buddy. Also, this is one of the most difficult jobs you'll ever have, but it is also one of the most rewarding things that you'll ever do. I felt really sentimental this year, of course, knowing I was going to be gone. And if I was sad about leaving, the last week really kicked it out of me. I'm just kidding. Daddy! No, it really is. And advice that Ed Perlmutter gave me that I definitely cherish is never forget who you are and why you ran in the first place. It's not about you, it's about the people that you're representing and making their lives better. I have tried my best to advocate for the issues that have personally affected me, but somebody said, okay, go say hi to Dad. Somebody said to me, Brittany, you're not just about addiction and opioids. Senator Zenzinger, I'll say that, said that to me. Because I have worked on so many issues that I cared deeply about, but that is one that I felt like I had to speak out and fight because there was such a void and gap for people like my mom in the state. So I feel lucky that you all have heard my story, have worked alongside me on these issues, and I believe that you'll continue to prioritize the people who are oftentimes left behind, because we have so much more work to do. Thank you all for your friendship. Thank you to leadership for your support in this, from having a baby to running for office. It's been a wild ride. And I also want to recognize the nonpartisan staff who are truly public servants. You know, the jobs that they do. Sorry, I'm crying. I wasn't expecting that. But the drafters who I've been in, like, some of the toughest fights with. Julie Pellegrin, I didn't get to speak about when we were honoring her because I was remote. What an amazing, brilliant drafter and public servant that we've had at the Capitol. Brita Darling, Yelena Love, Shelby Ross. Gosh, she's had so many of my bills the last few years. I always apologize. I jokingly said that this year I was going to pull titles that just said concerning Colorado, and she said, Brittany, I think if people see your name in that title, we will have a lot of people quit. But, you know, the nonpartisan staff are drafters who do this work, especially during COVID. None of us stopped working. Think about what we've been through from the time I was elected in 2012 with the recession and recovery through a global pandemic, and what our staff has gone through in the last few years, what we've gone through, but also our staff. Thank you for all of your support, for helping me be a better legislator. And thank you all for making me a better person. I am excited for the new opportunity, and I'll definitely be down here to bug you. Appreciate you all. On to the next journey.